wake up. I know you're out there, Father. You came back to save me, and I won't let you down! I know you're kind. You think you can waltz in and just take our planet. But you forgot one thing. I'm my father's son! I'm so proud of you.
What's the word, y'all? This is Average Z Fighter. Good afternoon to you. Today is going to be a cool video. We are approaching when the DLC is supposed to be dropping for us. My understanding is I know that the extra Shallot DLC is coming in just a couple of days. We should have that. I think early access is the 24th, if I'm not mistaken. But I can't see them dropping the other DLC apart from that one. That's just my opinion, but we got just a couple days left, and this video is just going to be about the top 5 things that I think are realistic to what we're going to get in this Daima DLC 2 or the DLC 3 for the season pass that we got. So I'm excited about this. I know a lot of people are just irritated with Spike Chunsoft and Bandai, which I understand, but I'm optimistic, man. I'm looking forward to them. I'm very excited to see what's going to happen. It seems to me like every patch, except for that January patch where they ruined tracking, but every patch has made more improvements than they did detriments to the game. They do always end up messing up something, or something didn't work the way that it was supposed to when they, fix something. But the game is in a better state than when it started. I definitely would say. I give this game a solid 6 to 6.5 out of 10 in the current state that it's in. So let's get started with that top 5 things that we're gonna get. And this is my opinion. You guys let me know what you think as well. I want to know what you guys are looking forward to, what you think they're gonna mess up, if anything's gonna change, if this game is completely cooked. And I don't mean if the 120,000 player base will ever come back, but do you think that it will retain any players? Right now, we're sitting on Steam at under 700 players, which is crazy to even say, but I just want to know what you think. So let's get started with that list. Oh, and also, I'm going to be playing End of Z Goku, because after the rank reset happens, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I might try to go for top 10 with End of Z Goku. He's actually one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite in the game, next to Gohan. All right, here we go. Number 1. For some reason, I really think we're going to get button mash recovery in this next update. So for those of you who do not come from the Budokai Tenkaichi family at all, Sparking Zero is your first introduction to the Tenkaichi series. In the games before, when you would get hit by a gut punch, I believe paralyzed ki blast as well, knockbacks, the collapse thing that they say, and I just had to show that right there. I did that Broly main so crazy, but he had the anime music on, so I couldn't show you the match, but it was very good. I just had to have that in there so I never forget what happened. But anyway, during the collapse or the exhaustion feature, when somebody breaks your guard and you only have one key bar left, you can mash all the buttons, just certain things like that. So when you see a knockaway in this game, let's just use a knockaway or a gut punch or a sweep. When you see that in this game now, there is a set and fixed time that your character will recover. Now, the bad thing about that, honestly, I don't really think it's good at all. The bad thing about that is that once somebody learns that timing, especially if you have auto recovery on or whatever, they can charge behind you for a certain amount of seconds like they do with the gut punch, or if they knock you away, then they can just dragon dash behind you, or they can dragon dash behind you and get you in a loop, because you're going to recover in the same amount of time every single time. It's always going to be like that. And so that creates an environment where infinite loops exist and things like that. But if you had the button mash recovery and everybody didn't recover at the exact same time, you can vary when you recover, then those loops are going to be obsolete. They're going to be just much harder to do because you don't have to wait, 0.75 seconds before you drag and dash every single time. Like, you can mix it up. You can let it be slower. You can let it be faster. So I need that to come into the game. But I really do feel like that's a super important feature in the Tenkaichi series, and it needs to come to Sparking Zero. And I really do believe that Bandai understands that, especially after the dramatic showdown. And people have been talking about that all over, the creators. So I think that's coming. Honestly, that's what I'm most excited for, because when that happens and all of these key blast loops, like you see, I tripped him and he just flipped. But there's a certain timing, like you can always get behind your character because they can't recover any faster than the game will allow them to. But if you could mash the buttons faster or slower, then you can recover before your opponent can get your back, if that makes sense. So I think that's coming. Number 2, they are going to buff the speed of the ascend and descend in the step-in zone. Now, I'm 50-50 on this one. This one is a 50%. I believe they will do it in this next patch, and a 50% I hope. Maybe even a 40% they will, and a 60% I hope. But if you don't know what that is, basically when you try to ascend or descend in the step-in zone, right? So if you press X and you're in the mid-range, just like the training tutorial says, then that's when you dash. You do your short dashes. When you get in the close range and you press X, that's your step-in zone. So you do ascend and descend on PlayStation by L1 and L2. When you get in the step-in zone, it's painfully slow. I can see them fixing this because the game is never meant to be played like that. It has zero function. And I believe that it was just an oversight on the developers' part. So I think they're going to fix that. The benefits of them fixing that would be it adds more flight options for us, right? So if you can move a little bit faster in the step-in zone, you can use that chaining. You can already chain your short dash into the ascend and descend just a little bit. You can go diagonal. So if you short dash and then press your ascend button, then you'll short dash up to the left or whichever way you're going, or down to the left or down to the right, whichever way you're going. So that's already in addition to some flight mechanics. If you can add some mix-ups. It will also just add different options to flank your opponents, kind of like in BT3. You can get right behind them using your ascend and descend. But right now it's so slow, it just doesn't make any sense. The reason why I think this is realistic for them to fix, because they added a drag and dash cancel with one of the updates. So basically, after you knock your opponent back and you press X or your drag and dash follow up to get to your opponent, if you just press X, then it cancels that drag and dash. You can stop, which is good because that creates some mix-ups. So you can be drag and dashing towards the opponent, and you can just press X or your dash/step in button, and it will cancel that drag and dash, and then you can drag and dash right behind them. It just creates some mix-ups, which is just really good for the game. That wasn't in there in the beginning, and now it is in there. So they added some drag and dash canceling, which is some stuff that the community was asking for, more of the professional community, because that stuff was in Budokai Tenkaichi 3. And so if they did that, then it should be much easier for them to increase the speed of ascend and descend in the step-in zone. So that's definitely something I'm excited for. All right, number 3. This is one that I'm very, very excited for, and the game never should have come out without this one being in there. And this is going to be Key Sickness. All right, let me break it down for you, my friends, who this is their first iteration of Tenkaichi. So way back when, 17 beautiful years ago, and it was there even before that, but I'm just talking about BT3 because that's where I came in. There was this mechanic that they had, and it was legendary. After an opponent would use after image strike, or after they would use an insta spark of any kind, and a couple other moves as well, there would be this little icon that would pop up next to their key bar, and it's a debuff. We call it Key Sickness, but it's just a key debuff. And the way that it works is after you would use an OP move like after image strike or an insta spark, which puts you in sparking instantly, obviously, hence the name. And then after image strike, which would give you, after image strike worked a little bit different in this game. It works different in this game than it did in the previous game. So just think about Super Vegito. He pops after image strike and he punches you. Then you super counter, and the after image strike puts you right behind your opponent. And it's basically free resets for 10 seconds. It used to be worse. It was 15, now it's 10. Imagine instead of it putting you in behind your opponent, it puts you in front of your opponent. That's how I think after image strike should be reverted back to. But anyway, imagine using such a powerful ability as it is in Sparking Zero. So it keeps putting you behind your opponent for 10 seconds. But that debuff is activated once you activate after image strike. And what it does is it slows down the rate that your ki regenerates, and it slows down your charge speed immensely. It's very slow. And so that's the punishment, or that's the risk for using a move like after image strike or an instant spark, right? So that move or that mechanic is so legendary because that instantly deters people who like to cheese from hard knocking you and then using insta spark, because if they don't get the ultimate off, if they don't get the damage off, then they can't just go right back into sparking. They have the debuff, which it doesn't go, so it makes your charging painfully slow, and it doesn't go away until you charge your ki all the way up to max. Now, when I say max, I'm not talking about back in the sparking mode, but once you fill your 5 bars of ki, or if you transform, or if you de-transform, then that ki sickness or that ki debuff goes away. The crazy thing is that it's already in the game. Nappa suffers from that with one of his skills. I can't remember which one it is, but it's a buff. He has a buff, I know it's to his attack and it's to something else, but while that buff is activated, he has a ki debuff. So while he's trying to charge, even though he's super strong, he can't charge ki or regenerate ki as fast as he usually can. And so that would have been a great mechanic to have at the beginning of the game. And the reason is because all people would do is fly and run away and then hit insta spark, and then they would try to engage with you. But if you add a ki debuff onto that, you use an ultimate and you miss, then you can't even charge. So your guard is broken more easily. You can't use any supers. You can't really spam ki blast. And it just puts you in a very vulnerable spot, which it should. Insta spark and your ultimate, that's your last resort move. Those moves are meant to be used according to just Dragon Ball lore, like once per match, maybe twice per match. Like you never see when Vegeta is fighting Cell and he hits him with the final flash when he's Super Vegeta, he doesn't do that move twice. You don't have the energy to do it. This is your last ditch effort. But in this game, you could just do it again and again and again. You can go into sparking, and then you have full ki when you get done, and you use the ultimate, and then you just use insta spark right after that. No, we need a penalty for that. It makes the gameplay way more skillful, and it makes getting the ultimate off, it makes it feel more rewarding because you set it up properly. So we need that to get back into the game, and I think that it can, because the community has been rioting for this for a while, and Bandai has been listening to the community, slowly but surely. All right, let's get to number 4, and I believe it's a twofold thing. So number 4 is going to be, they're going to add Sonic Sway on guard stun back, and or they're going to adjust the hitbox of flying kicks again. In the community, I've heard a lot of mixed feelings about Sonic Sway on guard stun. I think that they might add this back, one, because it was in every other Tenkaichi game, so it does belong. This is not a new mechanic. This is not a bug. That's just how it's been. And 2, I think at least the community has recognized that because of the lack of Sonic Sway on guard stun, flying kicks is even more OP than it already was. So the reason why I think they even took this out is because what you could do before in the game, you could block and perception in the middle of somebody's combo. So the block was a bug, I'm pretty sure. Basically, you would do one of your, step in rush chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, step in, and then you can get blocked when you're comboing from the front. That was a problem because you never should be able to do that unless you get a perfect block. and people weren't getting perfect blocks. They were just able to block. I think that was a bug. But also, instead of blocking, you could hold perception and you can get the perception off, which if you're stuck in a combo, why can you perception in the middle of a combo? That doesn't make any sense. And so I think that they removed the ability to perception for the most part, because you can still do it on slow characters. Characters that are slow, and if there's a little bit of lag, like Broly, like Omega Shenron, Super Broly, you can still block and perception in the middle of their combos after their step in hit. You still can. So they didn't fix that all the way. They just slowed it down a little bit, but not enough for the slow characters. But they removed that perception ability for most characters. And in doing that, they also removed the ability to sonic sway on guard stun. Guard stun is basically when you're blocking and your opponent is hitting you from the front, and you press or hold circle and you can get a sonic sway off. The reason why that's a bad thing is because of flying kicks. And flying kicks right now are extreme. They were already extremely strong. It's very hard to fight with a character who doesn't have flying kicks unless they have rolling hammer, but it's still tough. All you have to do is just block mid. But without sonic sway on guard stun, if you block the high kicks, then if it's lagging, your opponent can still hit you right after that if you try to sidestep or something like that. But when there was sonic sway on guard stun, you could be blocking, somebody has flying kicks on their first rush string. You block up there and it's 3 hits or more. Bop, bop, bop. And so if you press circle during that time, you get them into a sonic sway and you reset neutral basically. And that's a good defensive tool against characters who have flying kicks. Otherwise, flying kicks are just overpowered because the only way to block them is to block high, as opposed to you can block a non-charged sweep just by blocking mid. You could block everything else by blocking mid, but you can't block high kicks by blocking mid. So I would like to see that added back into the game. And I think the developers also realize that it's either that or they're going to adjust where the hitbox of the flying kicks. And the reason why I say that is because flying kicks still miss often. You even just saw that right there after the Ki Blast cannon that I did with Goku. My combo started to miss. So hopefully they adjust the hitbox of the Ki cannon as well, or the preceding attacks after the Ki cannon, because Ki cannon and Blaster Wave are suffering right now because of that. You just hit the air right after you hit your opponent with that move. So anyway, I think that's going to be adjusted. They adjusted the hitbox of the flying kicks the last patch, and I think they're going to do it again because they didn't get it right. All right, and this is the last one of the ones that I believe are the most probable of what they'll change in this next patch. Number 5 is they will remove sweep resets and or hard knockdowns altogether. All right, let me just clarify something. So when I say hard knockdown, what I really mean is true knockdown. And when I say altogether, I don't really mean altogether. I just mean from 2 of the same type of rush chains. So hard knockdown, from my understanding, is just falling for an extended period of time. True knockdown is falling all the way to the ground and you can't get up until you hit the ground and then naturally recover. Or if they add button mash recovery, button mash recover. So what I really mean is that they will remove true knockdowns, but not hard knockdowns. So how could you have one without the other? So basically the problem with hard knockdowns right now, or true knockdown right now, is if I'm in a map like this, a very big map, like Hyperbolic Time Chamber, there are people who will fly all the way to the top and won't engage with you unless you fight them all the way at the top. And with how sweep resets are right now, or really just with the way that the true knockdown works right now is, let's say if I'm base Goku and I have gut punch on 1, if I do a gut punch and I punch somebody from the front or the back, it doesn't matter. And then I go to their back and I do the same rush chain again. So rush chain gut punch on 1 or another gut punch period. And I hit them in their back, meaning the second of the same rush chain hitting them in their back, they're going to fall all the way to the ground until they hit the ground. Now, you all know how huge hyperbolic time chamber is, and you'll be falling for a couple of seconds. The problem is during those seconds, that allows an opponent to insta-spark or charge all the way into sparking or sleep or just do whatever they want to do, charge their key all the way up, and it's excessive. That's really what the problem is. It's excessive. So in my opinion, the way that you can combat that is you can keep, using 2 rush chains in a row on an opponent's back will hard knock them. But I don't think it should true knock them. So if it hard knocks them, the difference will be maybe they'll fall for 1 second max. Just 1 second, like literally 1 second, start the timer. And they can recover after that. Instead of them falling for 1, 2, 3, hit the ground, and your opponent has got into sparking by that time with how long sparking is, with the super armor that comes into sparking. And then there are people who will only fly up to the top of the map just to knock you so they can charge all the way into sparking. It's not skillful. It's not tasteful. It's just not good. And it's a problem because of how big these maps are. That's really what the problem is. And I'm not complaining about how big the maps are. I'm glad that they're big, but it's just something different than how it was in the Budokai Tenkaichi series. The maps were not as big, and so there were just things that we didn't have to worry about. And then the sweep resets, I think that needs to just get out the game. And I think that it will, because the reason why Hard Knock was introduced it was introduced into the sweeps, because before, if you remember in the base game, you could just step in, sweep, step in, sweep, step in, sweep. And because the player base wasn't as good, people didn't know how to vanish. When people would troll like this, these are the things that made people quit the game. But yeah, these are the top 5 things that I think will get into the game. I really do think that it's realistic. And you guys let me know what you think in the bottom. I appreciate you guys. Father, in Jesus' name, cover everybody who watched this video. Lord, draw them closer to you. Help us continue to grow as a community and walk in our purpose. In Jesus' name, Average Z Fighter out. Ciao.